Hey, what's going on, everybody? Mark Messini with the Gray Zone Podcast. I am here with Libby Anderson to just kind of go over what we're kind of introducing and bringing into the new campaign of QRFup and how that's all looking. So I just wanted to kind of jump in and introduce Libby. And if you mind telling us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of get into what we're looking to cover today.
Hey, I am Libby, and my husband was a disabled veteran. He served in the initial invasion of the Iraq War. And when he was done with that tour, that was enough for him. And so he got out, and we have 4 kids, and we tried to get him acclimated back into the civilian world, and it was a really, really hard struggle. And so we tried all kinds of different avenues to help him. And about a little over 3 months ago, he took his life because it was just more than he could handle. And so I'm here to advocate in any way possible because there is help out there. And I think it was just hard for us to find the appropriate help, and the VA is not any help. And so I'm here to tell my story and to let others know to not give up.
Libby, that's absolutely amazing. And obviously, and you and I have already talked quite a bit too, but my absolute condolences for you and your family.
Thanks.
And just so y'all are clear, right? Like, this is something that we deal with as veterans regularly. And because this is going to be a very, very emotional recording, I think, for both Libby and I I just buried number 40 of my friends. You know what I mean? And in the last 6 months, I just got 2 of those phone calls. And unfortunately, as most of us veterans know and understand, that they always generally come in threes, and that's just how it goes. So a big thing of why I kind of jumped in with QRFup and why, Libby and I are here today to really advocate for what some of these programs are out there is because we're tired of dealing with these losses and struggling through it because our brothers and sisters are not getting the appropriate help they need, whether it's because they don't know about the programs or the programs are, unfortunately, they're a check the block program. You know what I mean? And I wanted to be here with Libby today and allow her to share her story and get through some of those things. And I wanted to be here to do it with her because I know this takes a tremendous amount of strength to get out here and do this. And so one, I'm incredibly proud of you for doing this and with it being so fresh. But 2, just know that we are here to help support you and however you need, right? And that's something that we wanted to bring to light and offer through QRFup too, is that we're not here just for our veterans and first responders, but for their families. So however we can help and help you and your family through this time is what we're here for.
Thank you. And I think that's amazing because I don't think the veteran nor society understand what the family really goes through when tragedies like this happen. Like, I think back over the last 3 months and I cannot believe everything that I've had to go through. My husband did it in our house. Luckily, my kids had gone, but that left us homeless. Like, we had to find somewhere else to live. And then I had to pack up a house with 4 kids. So there's just so much awareness that needs to happen.
Yeah. So, obviously we all kind of understand why you're here and why you want to advocate, right? But I guess what is the inspirational aspect for you to try to advocate about these other programs and why you really want to get out and get your message out there?
So for us, this has been going on for a long time. I'd say at least a decade. And there came a point where I felt like we got over it. And it was so hard and so lonely, and people don't understand. I can tell my friends about it, I can talk to them, but no one really understands what I'm going through. Most of their husbands aren't even veterans. And so there's just a different level of understanding. So I think back in 2021, I was like, I got to do something. And so I started an Instagram page and was kind of thinking we're over the worst and now I'm going to help people. And then it got bad again. And I don't think, obviously, I realized how bad it got. And when it happened, like, I can't sit back. I cannot sit back and do nothing. Like, it's horrible.
Yeah.
The way I've been taken care of now by the VA, the way the VA takes care of its veterans, it's so sad. And like, I see the cemetery. My husband was buried in a national cemetery. It's beautiful. But why aren't we putting money into the soldiers before it gets that far? Like,
100%.
So I've always had this passion to advocate for it. And before Corey passed away, he would, within the past decade, like, we would do rucks and, go to different functions. And since this has happened, I got to do more.
Yeah.
I just got to help.
I completely understand. You know what I mean? And that was my calling to QRFup. I knew when I originally, retired and got out, I wanted to join an organization and do it. I hopped in and was trying to be a regional rep for Mission 22. One of my good friends and I both were like, hey, we'll take the entire Southeast region. And we'll do it for free. We don't need to be compensated. We're going to do it. And after we kind of started going through the rigmarole of it, it's like, dude, this is just bringing awareness. They're not actually doing anything. And then, I kind of fell off with it because I'm like, there are all these places out there that are saying they're doing all this great stuff, but they're not. They're just bringing awareness to the problem. Right.
Yeah.
And they claim, the 22 lives a day and all this different stuff. Right. Like, those numbers are skewed. A lot of people don't really understand there's 16.9 million veterans in the United States, that only around 9.1 million are VA connected, meaning if they're only tracking less than 50%, right? They're tracking like 43, 47%. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician, math and public major, but they're not tracking majority of these folks. So how are we getting these numbers? They're skewed. They're wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And then if homeless veterans or anybody along those other lines too, where are they getting tracked? If they're coming across as, they're not being put into that system, they're not doing it.
Yeah. So the number's higher.
It's way higher.
Yeah.
It's in the 30s. You know what I mean? And then don't even, forget about first responders as well too.
Yeah.
The veteran and the first responder community makes up less than 1% of the nation's population, but yet we have 33% of the suicide rate.
Yep. We've looked up the statistics before, and I'm like, then, like, we would have conversations about this.
Yep.
And now I'm a statistic. He's a statistic, and I can't just sit back and be like, okay, well, we're just another number now. Yeah. Like, I have to fight for it.
100% agree. And as somebody that's gone through those, like, mental health struggles, because, I've been there and I struggled immensely, right? Like, I was medically retired and I felt I really got shortchanged after it. And I didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
And a big thing that, was going through that transition phase and dealing with it. And that transition phase doesn't end after 6 months, a year, 10 years. It doesn't, because there's always something that's there.
Always.
And it's difficult. You know what I mean? I still struggle and work on it today. And I think that's kind of one of the big pushes. And I think that's something we talked to you about with QRFup too, is that our responder program, right? Like, we use that responder program because, just because I'm a responder today to help a brother and sister in need doesn't mean I'm not going to be the one pushing that button the next day.
Absolutely. And I wish, like, when I came upon this, you guys, I wish I knew. I wish I had known. And I'm not saying that this would have been the answer, but I can't tell you how many times I would want to call the police, but I have 4 kids at home. Like,
Right.
How can I do this? I can't make this even crazier at home for them.
Right.
And so all the times that the police were sent to my house, I never called, and I probably should have. But had I had someone that understood, another veteran that could come sit with him and pull him out and understand where he's coming from,
yeah.
Like, it's amazing. And I wish I had known.
It is. It really, really is. And that's why we're pushing so hard at it. You know what I mean? And I think just understanding the actual need for it is different, because a lot of veterans, and as a veteran, I don't want the police coming to my house, right?
Exactly.
I'm getting put into a 72-hour hold. I'm getting everything else, right?
Thank you. That's the thing. Is
right.
They either put you in the hospital or put you in jail. My husband, that's what he ended up doing, some government veterans court program, and part of their punishment was to put them in jail with the general population for a night or two or whatever was. I'm like, that's the worst thing you can do for these guys. Like, what? That just heightens all their symptoms.
Oh, it destabilizes them already, even though they're already destabilized, right?
Yeah.
So it is incredibly frustrating. And as I've been going down the QRFup journey and talking with more people across the United States, because every state is different, their laws, their codes, you know what I mean? Like, everything is different for what they have to report, what they don't have to report, and how it all works. So, and that's an uphill battle we're fighting with QRFup. But it's worth the fight, right?
Absolutely.
Because, if we can leave all the bureaucracy bullshit aside, and we can hone in on the problem and solve the problem before we escalate it and make it worse.
Yes.
Why aren't we doing it? And why aren't more people trying to get involved? You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that I'm at with it too. And it's like, we know what the problem is. We understand it is a pandemic across the United States.
Yes.
Why
aren't we doing more?
And doing more. I agree. You know what I mean? I completely agree with you. And we need more people that are willing to advocate for it. And then other people to actually, sorry y'all, but get off your lazy asses and do something about it.
Yeah. Right? Well, and I don't even have the solution. Like, I just know that something has to be done, and I'm willing to help in any way, because, like, we just can't keep doing this to our men that we're sending to war to fight for our freedoms and all the things that we have here. And you want to brainwash them pretty much so that they can't go to war, which I understand, right? But then you don't want to do anything for them when they come back. Yeah. And it's maddening to me. Like, so, how do you do that?
To highlight and talk in too, right? Is like after every major kind of uptick of a conflict, there's always a heightened suicide rate after the conflict, right? Yep. So, like, up to this point, I think the study stopped in 2019 is when the study stopped for Vietnam, and there's been 100,000 plus some odd suicides that have come out of the Vietnam War, right? But now we transition to OIF. OEF and, OND, right? And that's obviously, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Africa. And, we, out of that entire global war on terrorism campaign, we lost around 15,000, some odd troops for killed in action. However, up to date, we're at like 189,000 suicides.
It's sickening.
Yeah. And it's only getting worse. And people aren't talking about it because nobody wants to have the hard conversation.
They don't. And I saw somewhere like I wish I could remember what it was. I can't remember. It's just like it all makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Talking about suicide makes everyone feel uncomfortable. So let's not talk about it and pretend it's not a problem and just shove it under the rug. But it's still happening. You can ignore it all you want. It's still going to happen.
And it happens, and it happens quickly. And that's what
Yeah.
so many people just, they don't get. They
No.
don't understand, and it can change in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, you don't understand about the actual veteran and what he's suffering. Well, look at me then. Look at what my family's going through. Look at what my 4 kids are having to deal with now. One of the first things my daughter, so we have 3 sons and then a daughter, she's 11. One of the very first things she said is, I'm only 11, Mom. I only had 11 years with my dad. Like, how does that not make you want to do anything in your power to help? Like, it's heartbreaking.
It is.
And
It's
there's
incredible.
nothing I can do to bring him back.
Yeah.
I can't love him enough back. I can't wish him enough back. He's not coming back. It's a permanent end.
Yeah.
To a temporary situation.
Yeah. Well, gosh, and it's so unfortunate, going through this, because I've talked with so many of, my brother's, wives and things like that. And to me, it's a failure on me personally, right? Because I've had so many that have been close to me that have taken their lives.
And I hate that you feel that way, because people said to me, like at his funeral, other veterans are like, we failed you. We failed Corey. And like, I hate for you guys to see it that way, though, because it's not you guys. It's the government. It's the VA. Like, you guys are trying, but there's only so much you can do.
And it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those personal things that we take on, you know what I mean? Because as veterans, we hold responsibility differently. And
Corey felt the same way. Yeah.
It's, we hold that responsibility differently because, it's us, it's our family, it's our brotherhood, it's our, and sisterhood, right? Like it is, that's where it's at.
I know. And Corey was the exact same way. And every time, I mean, he had so many friends do the same thing, and he was heartbroken every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but it's got to change.
Well, hopefully we're coming up with it. You know what I mean? And that's really what QRFup is about. And, I can't say I'm sorry enough about the circumstances in which how we met.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to have you part of the family and a part of our team.
Well, and I'm glad to be a part of it and to help in any way I can. And yeah, it's just horrible.
So I guess what's one message, you hope families struggling with mental health challenges, really hear coming from, your experience and your story?
Oh gosh, there's like so many things, right? And I think, like, don't give up. Like, keep trying. I know it is so flipping hard. It was living through hell, right? Sometimes. But this is so much worse. Like, so much worse. Like, there is no hope anymore. Like, I had so much hope all the time. Like, that this was going to change and we'd find new solutions. Well, there's no hope anymore for that. Like, for him. Like, he's gone. That's it. And so just don't give up. Like, don't give up on your veteran or anyone serving, dealing with mental health. And if you're the one struggling with it, don't give up. Like, keep looking. Like, there is help. And there really are so many good people to help, to sit with you. And I know sometimes it's hard to find it, but just don't give up.
And I think too, right, like to kind of add that from the veteran perspective, you know what I mean? And it's something that I really struggled with, right? Like is asking for that help.
Yes.
And the stigma that goes with asking for that and doing it, right? Like there are ways to do that are, if you're still actively serving, that are outside your chain of command. Guess what? Here's QRFup. We're outside of your chain of command. We're not taking EOD or VA money. You know why? Because I'm not reporting to them.
Exactly.
Right. And that goes for our police officers and firefighters and so many other things, right? Like I'm the prime example. I raised my hand and I asked for the help when I needed it, and I lost my career. It's over.
Well, good for you for asking for help, because there is that stigma around it. People don't, Corey would always say that he's weak then. I'm like, no, you're actually even stronger when you ask for help.
And I'll tell you what, like the strength comes after,
It
because
does.
in that moment you don't feel that strength. You feel that low and weekend point, and you feel like you're grasping at nothing. But I'll tell you what, as I went through my personal mental health journey and learning about me and how my traumas affected me and my family and everything along those lines, like you learn so much more about you and how
Yeah.
to build you and your family into something that can actually work again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like you're just going through the cards every day.
Yeah.
And
Well, and it's not a quick process either.
oh,
And so many of the programs that Corey would go through, the VA, it'd be like, oh, do this 1 week program or this 2 week program. Well, you know what? That's just ripping the Band-Aid off and sending him back to me, and
yep,
he's a disaster. Like,
yep,
that doesn't do anything.
no. So,
It's
and
just,
this is where it comes into play of where you need good outreach programs, and you need other things other than just straight therapy, right? Like, don't get me wrong, cognitive behavioral health
yep.
therapy, it did a lot for me, right? I went through two intense outpatient like 12-week programs,
Yeah.
and excuse me, it took two of them for me to finally start grasping at it.
Yeah.
And I was forced to go and do it because I signed myself up for it, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I knew I
And good for
needed it,
you.
and in doing those things. But
Yeah.
there are so many other things out there now that I realize that could be beneficial. There are different retreat programs. There are, different hunting programs. There are gym programs.
Yes.
There are so many. Like, I think I've got Ram and Kayla going out to a snowmobiling program for like 2 weeks up in the mountains out west. Like,
That's
and
cool.
it's free, guys.
Yeah.
It is free for you to go and sit around other like-minded individuals and work on some of that cognitive behavioral therapy while doing something that builds that camaraderie again that you
Yeah.
missed so much.
Yes, which I think is one of the things is there wasn't that camaraderie that Corey found in the military.
Yeah.
And so you already feel different as it is because people don't understand you. So to go to these programs and connect with other veterans who have experienced different things as you, I think is so needed.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think all of these programs are nonprofits. They are not programs through the VA because the VA
no.
has failed us over and over again. And the VA has failed me. When this happened, the VA took everything from me.
Mm-hmm.
I am literally not getting a penny from them right now. And I have to fight for what is owed to me. He was 100% disabled, permanent and total. And they literally took all financial anything from me. I'm like, it's horrible. And now here I'm dealing with this and having to fight for money to support my family. Like, so my point there is the VA doesn't do anything. So their programs, I think, are not beneficial. So I think that's where it's hard too, is you do have to look for these programs. And that can get frustrating.
And I think one of the things there with that too is like the VA has so many programs, there's just not enough oversight over it, right? They did, quantity over quality.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's the biggest issue, right? Like, go and call a VA center and ask about their programs. They don't even know them because
Yeah.
there are so many of them out there, and they hit quantity over quality, and then they spent all
Mm-hmm.
this money on it to get nothing done.
Yeah.
And that's one of the major issues. So I completely agree. Um, and understanding, actually trying to communicate with them and figure that out with them it's virtually impossible.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And there's been so many times that we've called and we get different answers about different
Yep.
things depending on who we're talking to.
Yep.
No one they just don't know anything.
Yeah.
So,
So, and I guess, what do you think families really need to understand that's not like so obvious, just kind of off the cuff, about mental health and, kind of taking that on? Like,
this one was a hard question for me
mm-hmm.
because so much comes with it, right? And part of some of this, there's a little bit of manipulation. I hate to use that word because it has such a negative connotation, because I don't think Corey always knew that he was manipulating the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to put up boundaries so that I wasn't walked all over or things like that. But now that I'm on the other side of it and I'm experiencing my own PTSD, because I heard it, I heard the gunshot, and then it happened in my house, and now I've gone back and seen my house and the destruction that they've had to do to fix my house. And they didn't realize it was a suicide. Like, it was a long story. So I was, at my neighbor's house for like 4 hours. Anyways, so now I've gone through my own traumatic situation. And the intrusive thoughts, like, they're real. I'm experiencing it now. The vulnerability, like all these things, it's real. And I'm like, oh, like, you hear about it and you hear people say it. But unfortunately, sometimes I think until you experience it yourself, you don't understand how real it is. And so that's where it's hard for me. It's like, how do we make people understand that it's real? PTSD is real. All these things are real. And so I don't know. And then, the simple answers of like, they are, their mental health really does affect their physical health, and they really do need a lot of sleep to, so there's little things like that. But overall, I'm like, how do you really explain that PTSD is real?
So I think, right, and this is a perspective from me, right? I can't speak for everybody, but I know in my mental health journey, I started recognizing a lot within me, right? And I kind of figured out that we end up carrying a darkness, right? Um, Now, and I'm not saying that darkness is something that's bad, but it's a survival and a coping mechanism for what we've been
Mm-hmm.
through
Yeah.
and what we do, right? And at the end of the day, when veterans are, and soldiers are overseas, there's nothing easier. I hate to break it to y'all. We are not who you think we are,
Yeah.
right? We are good at it, and we enjoyed it, and we laughed and joked about it, and we still probably do, right? It's not what you think it is. It's not glorified. It's not any
No.
of
And I think you guys did that because you had to do that to
it.
get yourself through and to be able to do the things that you had to do over there.
Right.
Because it was them or you. And if you weren't that way, then you risked your life ending or your
Yep.
buddy's life.
And but with that, I think the hard part comes with coming home, right? And I think this is a double-sided coin, and I'll kind of explain both sides of it. Is coming back to what I like to call the societal normalities, right? Of what's appropriate here compared to what's there, what's the difference between what we're doing over there and what's acceptable and doing it in other places. Now I've been
Yeah.
through multiple combat deployments, and every time I came home was something different, right? Like every time I came back, it was different, and
Yeah.
I lost a piece of me in that deployment, but I gained a piece too. And not saying that both are good or bad, right? Like I don't really know.
Yeah. It just is
Um,
what it is.
but and that's the truth, right? But coming back to those societal norms, once you're outside of them for so long, they just don't matter. Like,
Yeah.
and those things just don't matter. And unfortunately, I think that plays into such a perception with veterans and suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, what did I go over and fight for, and what did I do it for? I didn't do
Yeah.
it for my country. I didn't do it for my flag. I didn't do it for any of those patriotic bullshit things that they all say. Nope,
Yeah.
didn't do that. Right? I did it for my family and the people that I love and I care about,
Yeah.
to give them the life that I wanted them to have.
Yeah.
And when I realized it was me that was hurting my family, and that
Yeah.
I wasn't able to regulate and do those certain things anymore because I had lost so much within me,
Yeah.
and I wasn't able to cope with it anymore. The only thing that I sought to do was to remove myself from the equation because I was the problem. I was the constant that was the issue. And
But it's not the answer.
and it isn't, right? And it isn't. But I think so many people actually need to hear and understand that.
Yeah.
And I know that that is something so difficult for everyone to swallow and to understand.
It is.
But
Have you seen, I can't remember the name of the movie. It has Chris Kyle in it. I can't remember. I don't know.
American Sniper.
Yes. So when he comes home and the way he is with his wife, like that was really traumatic for me to watch that because I felt like it was so real. Like they did a great job on the movie because it really portrayed how life was for us home when they come home and how they are when they come home and they're just thrown back into society.
Right.
And it portrayed it so well. And I think if anyone is lacking understanding, that's a great movie to go watch.
It's a good reference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's so difficult to then try to fit back into that societal normalcy here, right?
Yeah.
That is just so different. You know,
and that was Corey's problem. Yeah, he felt like he didn't fit in and he didn't know how to, you can't be the same way over there that's been ingrained in your head as you can be over here. It's just different.
And that is a big reason why so many people don't leave the military, because they feel like they don't have anything else outside of that for them.
Yeah.
Which isn't true. You know what I mean? And it's not true. There is a lot out here, but you got to know how to then take those skills and move them into the world and work that actual transition.
Yeah.
So,
but there's no, the military, the VA government, whatever you want to call it, there's no rehabilitation back into the real world.
No, there isn't.
And that's horrible. Like
we're people, like us and our programs that are there to do it and to help with that. But
unfortunately, I feel like when people reach out, it's already so like you're already way into the struggle. You're at your breaking point.
Yeah.
Instead of catching it in the beginning.
Yep.
When it's easier to clean up.
The programs that I'm currently working on, with QRFup is actually getting into all the bases and being in their in processing and out processing.
That's amazing.
Because and how hard is it to obviously you haven't been to those, but for all the vets that do end up listening, you guys know we all sit in there for 2-3 hours and somebody babbles on about a bunch of BS that most of us don't care about, you know what I mean? But then there are those couple little key things like, oh, that might be something good to keep on, right? And if it's a dude like me, I'm gonna be an asshole about it. I'm gonna be like, no, you're gonna fucking download it and you're gonna put it on your phone, because I hate to break it to you, at a certain point
you're gonna need it,
and you're gonna fucking need it. And if you're not responding, you're third. So like, let's go. Or
your spouse, or who, like, oh my gosh, I would have totally done that. Was I gonna call the police? Fortunately, I don't know how you look at that. No, but would I have hit that button? Heck yeah.
Yeah. And we have an option to have police involvement or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's to a point where you need an ambulance or an RA or a police officer there, like, yeah, okay, I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you don't, and you just need somebody to talk to, and maybe somebody to show up at your house and be like, hey, look, dude, like, it's all good. I know it feels like it's burning down right now. You know,
but this is a great solution.
But here it is. You know what I mean? And it's, some long-haired, white trash tattooed looking dude rolling up to your house, probably on a Harley, just unless it's cold.
You know what? That's so much better though, because you understand.
And we have some coffee and we hang out and we work on it.
Yeah.
So, and knowing that there's other guys and girls out there that are just like us, struggling with this, generally around the same shit. You know what I mean? It really is. It's all the same problems.
It is.
And it comes back to the big three. You know what I mean? Like, and everybody knows it, right? Like, we can figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And, so many people that are getting involved with this, right? Like, we're all business owners. We all got work to do. We all got stuff to do. Like, we can help each other in that aspect. You know what I mean? Like, I may not be able to afford to pay you what you want, but I'll tell you what, you know what I mean? Like, we can figure some stuff out and get stuff moving. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's always something that I like to bring up too, you know? So I guess in from, kind of your insight, right? What are some of the other things that, us as an organization or, schools, workplaces, communities, like what can we do to kind of play that pivotal role in preventing suicide?
Oh, that's such a hard question too, I think, because like you said, raising awareness isn't necessarily enough. Like, okay, you raise awareness, but there has to be some kind of solution. And so I don't know. I think that what you guys are doing is so amazing. Like, because these things you can go on, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking the word, little retreats,
Yep.
for a couple weeks here and there. I think that's all great too. But the problem is when you're really in those dark moments, you don't like you got to find what works in those really dark moments. And Corey didn't have anything. And so to be able to press a button, and someone was explaining to me, it's like if you press that button and then you don't respond or say anything, well, they're still going to send someone out
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. We're still going to show up.
And like, because people do, they chicken out, right? They get afraid. They don't know what's really going to happen. And so that's what's hard, is that when people really get in that dark moment, where they feel that they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, even if they've gone to these retreats, because Corey and I did them. But to have that on your phone,
The
to just
immediate
hit it.
reaction, you know what I mean? So,
Yes.
and let me, I guess I'll explain a little bit more about QRFup. I probably should have done that in the front. I don't know. I'm not great at this.
It's
So
okay. We're all
yeah,
learning.
whatever. It'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, so QRFup, right? And for those of you who don't know, QRF is your quick reactionary force. It's that last line of defense when like the shit really hits the fan.
Yes.
You got to call in somebody to come in and help. Right. And that's why we started QRFup. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a group of individuals that will show up for you when you really need it. And it's all volunteer based, right? We are looking at getting, paid therapists. All of our therapists currently are volunteer, but as we go nationwide, we need a lot more. So, we're gonna have to start paying some folks and getting that, and that's all through fundraising and grants and such forth, right? But
Yeah.
you get your hot button out there, and I'll put it in, like right up there, and we'll get it there when I go through and do the edits.
Yeah.
But you hit that button, it puts you directly in contact with a licensed therapist, for your state. All right. So throughout our pilot, we realized that about 60% of the calls that we got, we were able to resolve with just having somebody on the phone and helping talk them down and de-escalate the situation and show them that there are other things that they can connect to and other things that they can do to
Yeah.
try to solve the actual raw problem of it. But if that doesn't really work and they're not able to, calm down over the phone, or they're still struggling and need more help, we send out a mobile, response team. So, and it's going to be, somebody just like me who's going to show
Yeah.
up to your door or, wherever you are, because we're going to geo-track your phone. Little heads up, it's in the disclaimer. Right. But,
Yep.
it's there for us
Yeah.
because who knows where I'm at or what I'm doing when I get these lows. And you know what? Maybe I don't want to be at my house where, mama and the kids are and everything. And I'm having this moment, and I don't want them to see it. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm, over at Chili's, enjoying my 5 o'clock, Friday. I don't drink, but,
No,
you
because
know,
that's another problem.
yeah, like
Or
I'm
can
probably just
be,
having chips
right?
and salsa because I'm getting thick, but you know what I mean? Like that's my go-to, I guess. But
Yeah.
um, just having somebody that can show up and just help me work through some of my issues and look at it from, an objective position that I'm not seeing because I'm too close to the problems.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And it is. And that's the thing, is like, whatever's going on in your head that moment, it's just like, I get it's something that you're going to always struggle with, but it's just that moment. Had Corey given it 5 more minutes or given me the time to help calm him down, because I actually knew exactly what I needed to do to ever calm him down.
Yeah.
And we were just having like a heated conversation, but just a conversation. It wasn't like, we weren't like arguing or screaming on our porch. And then he turned around, like I had no clue, turned around, and then I heard it. And so it's like, had he given me 5 minutes to cool down myself and then walk back in and look him in the eyes and give him a hug, he'd be here. Or press a button. And no, I'm not blaming myself, because I get he still made the choice.
Yeah.
But like, it's such a permanent choice for a temporary problem.
Yeah. And it is. Everything is a temporary problem.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just fighting and working to be there with the people that you care about, and finding that thing that gives you your purpose again. And for me, that's QRFup.
Yeah.
That is QRFup. And, my business partner probably hates me for it, because I spend a little bit too much time doing QRFup and,
It's a good boss.
not working. But, at the end of the day, like the business will survive, and, we'll have issues with it, and they'll come and go, but those are all temporary problems again.
Yeah.
Where, saving a life, that's not temporary.
Yeah.
It's forever. And that's something that people really need to look hard and think about. And
you're not just saving that individual's life, that soldiers or veterans, you're saving the whole family.
Yeah.
Like, Corey had no clue the trickle effect that this made. Like, my whole community knows. Like, someone introduced me to someone today, and I was like, oh, she probably doesn't know who. Actually, everyone knows who I am now. Like, and I get that you guys feel like you don't mean anything and you're better if you're not here, but that's not true. That is not true at all.
Yeah. And, and I think that's something that, people need to look at through a different lens, when you're in those dark moments and you're feeling those intrusive thoughts, and you just feel like the weight of the world is sitting on your shoulders, and there's no outward way to get it off. There is. And
there is.
There are so many different options that you have, that, don't rely on Google, right? Like, it's not
exactly for anything.
All right. Yeah. Don't rely on Google. It's not going to point you in the right direction. Right. But if you're having different things, like, we have built so many partners within our organization to help, right? Whether it's financial, whether it's educational, whether it's, your business. And, I mean, like, I'm helping mentor somebody right now in business and getting their e-commerce business fixed. Right. Like, I never thought myself as a business coach, but apparently I do well. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just one of those things, like, we can help each other if we just take the time to do it.
Yeah.
So, and I know, like, Libby, I appreciate you so much for getting on and sharing, not only your story and what you're going through, because I know you're still going through it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I guess, like, amidst kind of all that pain and loss and, the entire grieving process, I guess, what gives you hope for the future, whether it's, working and, advocating against, these different things, or if it's, what's building you up?
Advocating, doing this. Like I said in the beginning, I've always had this passion for this, and I'm actually was able to go back to school a few years ago, which now I'm actually going to need it because I've been a stay-at-home mom. So my degree is going to be in communication. So I've always wanted to work for a nonprofit, and now this is the kind of nonprofit. Like, I got to do it. That's what brings me in this whole crazy thing some kind of peace. If I can help even one person, one wife, one veteran, one child, like, I will do it. This is horrible to live through. horrible. And it's horrible what my husband had to live through. Now that I'm experiencing this PTSD, it's horrible what he had to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So for me, I want to help with this. I want to help find solutions. I want to talk to people about it. And hopefully there are some better solutions out there and we can lower this number.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Libby. You are now with the QRFup team.
Awesome.
Job interview complete. No.
There you go.
So, you know, it's something that is a really true calling, and I really do. I believe that for you. And any way that I can help and get you involved in these different things, I would love to have you with us.
Yeah, and I'm willing to help any way you guys need, you know, and I think what you're doing is amazing, and I'm proud of you that you're still here because I know these things are real.
Yeah.
And you got a new baby. You got a lot going on. You need to be here.
It's even difficult just getting in there and talking about a lot of it, especially publicly. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of me and, you know, my journey too. You know what I mean? Like, I think we need to do that for everybody. Yeah. Like we need to be able to share that and not be ashamed of those issues. And
people are shocked around this community that I am being as open as I am, but I can't not.
You know, and I think it's something that we have to do. Because if nobody's willing to sit there and again, have those hard conversations and really talk about it and figure out, hey, this is the problem.
Because we'll talk about cancer and all that all day long. I'm not saying that that's not hard or horrible or sad by any means.
No.
But we should be talking about veteran suicide or suicide in general, mental health in general, just as much as we're talking about all those things. But we don't because it's hard.
Yep. And
it does.
It affects everybody.
It does.
Everybody knows a veteran. Everybody knows. Smallest population in the U.S., but everybody knows us.
That's the truth.
You know, and we need to be.
I agree.
We need to be louder about it. Unfortunately, the squeaky wheel, you know, get the cheese, right?
I don't know either, but I'll be a squeaky wheel.
Something like that. Yeah, right. Like I'm just gonna be obnoxious about it. You know, so. But I guess what do you want the listeners to really kind of take away from, you know, yours and my conversation and that outreach?
Don't do it. Just don't. I know it's hard. I know it sucks so much. Like, I get it. It's hell. I've lived through it. Don't do it. Keep trying. Stay. Keep fighting. Whether you're the spouse, the family member, or you're the actual veteran. Please stay.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
You know, and that's it's so powerful too to really get that message from your perspective.
Well, I mean it too, from the bottom of my heart.
You know what I mean? Like it is for me, it's incredibly powerful. And it makes, you know, it makes me think and, you know, just want to drive and row harder too, because it's easy to get into that ultra negative mentality and to just be like, well, fuck it, you know? And it's very simple to get into that. And again, like, thank you, because you coming on here not only helped me, and I hope that as we spread these messages,
well, thank you for having me, and thanks for all that you guys are doing.